Hey, I'm Eiley and I want to tell you a story. It's going to be a long story and it's going to be incredibly hard for me to tell it. I've never created long form content of any kind, so bear with me as we navigate this new place together. My life right now is quite boring. I spend most of my hours behind my desk preparing for the second half of the year. I will be traveling and I'll have a lot to share, but for now, I barely leave my apartment. So, what I lack in exciting visual content, I hope to make up for in substance. I spent 2 years creating content from the perspective of a mid 20s alcoholic with a broken heart. I drank heavily every night, spent way too much money, and dated my way through all of Washington state. At the same time, I was posting videos on TikTok that made my life look glamorous and desirable, and at times it was. These are the stories from behind the scenes of those videos, a look at what was really happening behind the screen. This will probably get really vulnerable. It might not always be comfortable, and it may make you question some of the things that you saw on my platform over the last 4 years. That's okay, it's meant to. If I'm going to share my story, then I'm going to share it my way. And while I may tell some stories that will likely make some people uncomfortable, know that no one is more uncomfortable than me. Let's just kick this off right away so you know how it's going to go. If I did your hair in 2021, I was likely drunk. My sincerest apologies. I look back now and wonder who knew. I wonder all the time if anyone was witnessing my struggle with alcohol. But how could they? I was successful in my career, in the gym every day, and had just started a social media page that was slowly changing my life. Well, none of that makes me look very good at all. It is the truth, and I plan to tell it, all of it. So let's start at the beginning, a look into the life I lived before it all began. I met my ex-husband when I was 20 years old. I remember that well because I used a fake ID whenever we went out. My first lie, let me apologize. It wasn't a fake ID. I'm used to changing the details to fit the narrative that I have always been a rational, intelligent human being. I stole that ID from my sister. Greta, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I can't remember if I ever told you this. We had just gone through customs after a cruise. And usually when I tell this story, I say that my sister was about to get a new ID anyways since she had just moved. But the truth is, I have no idea if that's the truth. It could very well be another changed detail to fit the narrative of who I wanted people to believe that I was. Pause. When I say that I will be exposing my life, I do mean it. I didn't always make the best decisions, and it's so embarrassing to share, but the way I used to live feels really important to the story, and so I hope that you allow me to walk you through the evolution of who I've become instead of holding me to the weight of some very poor decisions that I would never make again. Unpause. From the ages of 20 to 24, I was dating and eventually married to a man that I considered to be my best friend. I used to find myself wishing that I had never realized my sexuality. I wanted so badly to have experienced the life that we spent so many years building. My ex-husband was the definition of a good man. To this day, I can't think of one single significant fight that we ever had, even when alcohol was involved. Back up. I just remember. We did have one very significant fight. When I came out to him, he was so much more supportive than I could have ever hoped for. But we both downloaded Tinder, weird, and made profiles to start a new dating life. After a few days, we decided to get off the app, spend the summer together, and separate in the fall. That man was back on Tinder within a week, dating behind my back. And I don't blame him. I can't imagine what it's like for your wife to come out to you and ask for a divorce the day before celebrating 1 year of marriage. I have a special place in my heart for him, and he deserved better than the hand he was dealt. Before coming out, we had a smooth, stable relationship that made life feel easy, so I was absolutely sick to my stomach when I found myself dreading his company without the slightest idea why. I noticed my body rejecting intimacy and avoiding the topic as much as possible. The feeling of dread turned to guilt and resentment, and because I wasn't sure what had changed, I swallowed it and marched forward in my marriage. I didn't know it then, but this was a turning point in my life, one that I would revisit over and over again in the coming years.